What's up everybody, Super Derrick's fan here for another car review. This is of course the 2006 Chrysler 300C SRT8. Many thanks to Harrison Auto Sales for hooking me up with this car to review for you guys today. So, about the Chrysler 300 SRT8. Well, this one is almost 8 years old now. I still think it looks fantastic. The previous owner of this car did a few modifications here. You can see the E&G grille up front there, and you'll see in the back it has a Borla exhaust as well, and it just looks really nice, especially in this silver color. You have these huge SRT rims, and you see the huge Brembo brakes hiding behind those rims. It's a very intimidating looking car, even after 8 years. It's very, I love the boxy. It even has these bulging fenders here that come out on the SRT8 version. Gives it an even more aggressive stance than a standard 300. And I love the way these look. I love the stance of them. They look so mean and intimidating. I think it's so cool. Right, so for the interior of this car, it's actually a really nice place. People love to rag on Chrysler interiors, especially an 8-year-old Chrysler, but this is really nice in here. The first thing you notice is actually getting in the car. When you open the door, it's like opening a bank vault. It's very heavy and very thick and solid feeling. You close the door, very solid thunk, and then you get in here, and the glass is a little bit on the small side, and you just feel like you're in an armored car or something. It's a very secure feeling interior. It's kind of interesting. So you have a short, small windshield, you have the smaller windows, but the visibility is fine so far from the driving that I've done so far. So while I'm in this interior now, it's really nice. You have these heavily bolstered seats that hug you very nicely, especially for a Chrysler. You would think that it would be a little bit on the loose side, and you do have a little bit of wiggle room, but it's really very secure and snug seats. I like them a lot. You have the Alcantara inserts too as well, so those keep you from sliding around too much and keep you firm in the seat. And this steering wheel is great too. It has a nice 9 and 3 position, and it's a very nice leather wrapped. You have metal accents on it as well. It's really nice. You have the few basic buttons that you need, nothing more. Very nice and simple wheel. You have the very nice and simple gauges as well. I love the very attractive and classy font, and the silver background is nice as well. It just gives you the basic stuff you need, and that's it. Coming along to the center console here, this is where it starts to show its age a little bit. I do love the analog clock up here. That's a very nice classy touch. Then you come along to the head unit here, which has some pretty cheap feeling buttons. The knobs feel pretty cheap, and I mean, this is again an 8-year-old head unit, so I mean, navigation and all that leaves a lot to be desired compared to modern standards, but it does all the basic things you need it to do. And then you come down to the climate controls here, which actually have a very nice feel to them. The knobs have a nice little bit of resistance, and they feel nice. I actually like the way this interior is. There's two things that I've encountered so far that feel cheap on this interior, and that is first off, this ashtray doesn't pop out all the time. It takes a few pushes to get the ashtray out. That could just be because it's 8 years old. Also, the plastic that covers up the cup holders here feels kind of cheap and flimsy. Aside from that though, I mean, the dash pad is actually a nice and soft material here. You have the doors, which it is a harder plastic, but it's softer than a lot of the other cars that I've been reviewing recently, and it actually feels pretty nice. This armrest here is padded a little bit, and that is a lot more comfortable than a few of the other cars, like the brand new 2013 Scion TC that I reviewed recently. So as far as storage capacity goes in this car, you have a good amount of it. You have map pockets here in the doors, you have a sunglass holder up here in the headliner, and then you have that ashtray that, like I said, takes a few pushes to get it open sometimes. And then you have a little slot here next to the shifter for something. You have your 2 cup holders, and then you have this very deep center console that you can fit all kinds of stuff in, and you'll see there's some headphones in there, because when you open up this side of the center console, you have a TV for the rear occupants, which is very cool as well. And this car also has another entertainment feature, and that is a subwoofer in the trunk. It has a kicker subwoofer in the trunk that sounds absolutely fantastic, but it's hidden away into the alcove there. And so while we're talking about the trunk, there's a good amount of space back there. Even with that subwoofer, plenty of space for many suitcases, no problem whatsoever. Back seat space in this car is also very good. Plenty of room, very plush feeling back seats, and a very luxurious feeling car for sure. So even though this is an 8-year-old Chrysler, I'm very impressed. This is a very nice interior, very nice place to spend time for sure. So yeah, let's take it for a drive and see how it does. You can hear that amazing Borla exhaust. Memory seat putting me in my correct driving position here. And yeah, let's hear that Borla exhaust a little bit. performance modification this car has is a cold air intake. Alright, so setting off here in the Chrysler 300 SRT8. So I'm on this bumpy park road here, which allows me to feel out how the suspension is and, you know, if it's rough or smooth. And this car is quite smooth. I mean, it's a little bit firmer than your standard American luxury car would be, and that's just mostly because this is the SRT8 version, and so this has a little bit of a stiffer suspension so that it handles better. But I mean, on these bumps, you know, it soaks them up nicely. It's still a very smooth ride. I mean, you feel the bumps, obviously. This isn't a Rolls Royce, but it is very comfortable, a very relaxed car. You're sitting up a little bit higher in this car as well, so you definitely feel like you have a commanding view, and it's a very confidence-inspiring seating position. It's also really quiet in here. You know, they do a good job of insulating the car here, so you don't hear much road noise. It's very quiet, serene. The only thing I'm hearing is that awesome exhaust system, which I'm not complaining about because it sounds awesome. All right, so the big question here is, this is a big American car with a V8 engine, so how does it do on back roads? And so let's find out. Let's turn on to this back road here and see how it does. Oh man, was that exciting! So we're dealing with a 6.1 liter Hemi V8 that puts out 425 horsepower and 420 foot-pounds of torque, and especially on this colder day, rear-wheel drive and that much power, man, it lit them up and then it just took off. Tons of power. This is a heavier car, but man, it didn't feel it. It just took off. No BS, no questions asked. And this transmission is a downshift immediately, knows exactly what you want to do when you put your foot to the floor, and it doesn't mess around. This thing is one brawler for sure. It looks very classy on the outside, but man, this thing will kick your teeth in if you ask it to. So much fun. Oh man, so here, we're on this back road now, and one thing is, you know, even though this car feels, you know, like it's a bigger car, it doesn't feel big going down the road here. I'm not like trying to squeeze into my lane. It's very easy to drive. So here we are coming up to some corners. Let's see how it does. It's really nice, actually. The steering has a little bit of a lighter feel, but it's got a good weight to it. It feels actually really precise. I'm pleasantly surprised with everything from this Chrysler so far. Coming up to this really tight corner that I always go around average speed, and let's see how it does. It's really nice, actually. There's not a whole lot of body roll. There is some body roll, but it's really well controlled. It doesn't feel like it hates going around corners. This actually feels pretty good in the corners too. So let's see about this power again. Oh, it sounds great too. That V8 engine with this Borla exhaust, man. Sounds so good, and it's so powerful. Oh man, I'm loving this car already. So much fun, man. I mean, the only thing that's bad about this amazingly powerful V8 is you get abysmal gas mileage. I think you get something like 12 to 16 miles to the gallon. I think maybe you crack into the 20s on the highway. So, I mean, this thing is definitely not very conservative when it comes to the fuel pump. But that's perfectly fine with me. You get that amazing sound and that amazing adrenaline rush whenever you stomp on the gas. Totally worth the price of admission, in my opinion. And I mean, that's the thing, is this car right now, it's, you know, almost 8 years old, and it's still a really high quality, a really nice car, and this one's less than $20,000 for all this fun. It's making me scratch my head and wonder why I'm not driving this. But yeah, I'm gonna drive this car all afternoon, and I'll come back and give you some updated impressions after I've driven it for a while. Alright, so I've been driving this car for a while now, and this thing is hilariously fun. Oh man, do I love this car. There's two things though that are a little bit annoying. The first is that there's not much brake feel. The brakes don't really have much feedback. They're kind of spongy and you just don't really know what's going on. I mean, they brake well. These are Brembo brakes and they stop the car very well. but they just don't give you much feel. And the only other thing is that the manual shifting on this automatic is very slow. This is 2006 though, this car, so I mean, that's acceptable. I mean, back then automatics weren't nearly as advanced as they are now, so that is totally forgivable. And the reason why it's totally forgivable is because this thing has so many good things going for it. It's just so stupendous in every single other way. It's just amazing. And any complaint you could have, even if there's other things you don't like about this car, every single complaint goes away whenever you put this thing in a low gear and you do that. And it's so much fun. And it sounds so spectacular too. This Borla exhaust system, it just sounds so good, especially when this thing gets up close to red line and it, you know, switches over to the next gear. You get some of that burp sound that you hear in some of the Jags and the Mercedes. And if you think it sounds amazing out on the open road, just wait till you get it in a tunnel. And then you're back to your normal sedate luxury car. It's wonderful. It almost has like a VTEC sensation. Whenever you get it up into those high RPM ranges, I mean, it just really just, ooh, it just pulls, and it's so thrilling, so satisfying. This car is just, oh, it's so much fun. And I mean, even whenever the cameras weren't rolling, I've just had this huge grin on my face the entire time I've been driving it. And another thing is, this car is also a spectacular luxury car. It has one of the smoothest highway rides that I can remember in recent memory, and it's so smooth, it's so refined. This has less rattles and squeaks than my 2013 BRZ. I mean, this is almost an 8-year-old Chrysler, and people would say, oh, it's a terrible interior. This is a really nice interior, actually. I'm really surprised. That was one thing I was going into this thinking it would have a bad interior, but it doesn't. It's very nice. It's whisper quiet in here. It's just a spectacular car. Another thing is this stereo system in this car is really a nice unit. Some of the clearest vocals that I can remember, obviously with that subwoofer to help it out. It has really good bass as well, and it's just a very good sounding stereo system. I'm really impressed by that as well. Another thing is, you know, I mentioned earlier on in the review that, you know, this big V8 is going to drink gas, and that's the one downside about it, is it doesn't get good gas mileage. But I mean, the gas gauge really hasn't moved a whole lot in the time that I've been driving it all afternoon. The way I've been driving it, I thought that the fuel gauge would just go down to E and like that, but it doesn't. This car has just blown me away in so many areas. It does everything great. It's an amazing luxury car. It's an amazing performance and muscle car. You know, I genuinely don't think you can have a bad day if you're driving this car, because you have a bad day, you just go like that, and then there you go, you're gonna smile again. And that's really it. It's that simple. It's that much fun. And you know, some people might say, oh, it's just an unsophisticated American car, but I've been taking it on back roads and it's been handling really well too. I mean, yes, it's a heavier car. Do you feel the weight? Yes. I mean, but the steering is a nice weight that, you know, you go through corners and there isn't much body roll. It handles corners really well. No, it's not as good as a, you know, Miata or BRZ or something like that, but I mean, it's better than most muscle cars actually. And you know, so this thing, it's really the best of both worlds. You have a very comfortable car you can cruise around in all the time with the utmost luxury, and it's spectacular if all you want to do is that, and then all you have to do is move your foot that much, and then you just have an enormous grin on your face. This one, I mean, these brand new were around 45 grand, and even back then they were great bargains, brand new. But this one now, this has 43,000 miles on it, and they only want 20 grand for it. If I didn't have to drive in the snow, because this thing would be terrible in the snow because of all the power, but if I didn't have to drive in the snow and I just wanted something comfortable and I was driving on straight roads all the time, it'd be this or the Mustang for me. It's up with the Mustang GT, you know, that dude in blue's Mustang that I reviewed. That thing was also hilarious amounts of fun. And honestly, I think the last time I had this much fun was when I was in his car. This is just such a spectacularly fun car. I'm staggered by it. I never expected it to be this good. I thought, yeah, it has a V8, but it'd have a crappy interior, and it wouldn't handle, and it would be an old 8-year-old American car, but it's not. It's such a nice car. I just want to say a huge thank you once again to Harrison Auto Sales for hooking me up with this amazing car to review for you guys today. Like I said, this one's for sale. It's less than 20 grand, which is a phenomenal bargain for what you're getting, and it's in great shape. Like I said, low miles, and it's really been taken care of well, and you have the great exhaust system and the intake added. This car is just ready to go. But yeah, if you're interested in this car, you can check out the link in the description for all the information about this car. Give them a call. They'd be more than happy to help you out. They're great guys. And so yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time. Take care.